From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on April 10th, 2025 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. And just a little programming note, we will only have one podcast next week on Tuesday. It'll be an Econ Pod, so hopefully most of it will still be in date. We can't make any guarantees, but stay tuned for our full-blown Econ Pod on Tuesday. That'll be the only podcast we have next week. But for this week, on this episode, we look at the Senate Finance Committee, which approved its version of the $14.5 billion state budget, and in a move of bicameral unity, eliminates earmarks. Don't worry, we have reaction in this economy. The hands-free device driving bill moves out of the House for the first time ever. What's in it? How does it affect you? Put your phone down. And a different but similar hate crime bill emerges in the Senate. Up in Washington, the budget resolution narrowly passes the House, and Scott Morgan has a feature on electric buses. The Lead loves hearing from everyone. That's why we have a voicemail box set up so you can give us your hot takes, your questions, your thoughts, your favorite pies, anything you want to talk about within reason, of course, at 803-563-7169. We love hearing from our listeners. And I can tell you pretty soon we're going to have a new live Lead taping event somewhere soon. I'll tell you soon. But tell us where you want us to come, 803-563-7169. Let's start off with some politics in Columbia. The Senate Finance Committee approved its version of the $14.5 billion budget this week. And while there are changes between the House version, like only including $100 million for immediate bridge repairs that SCOD requested instead of the $200 million in the House plan, there is bicameral support to axe earmarks for community groups and nonprofits and put that money toward tax reform. This was something that has been rumbling in the background of the tax reform / cuts conversation. Here we are. Them's be the breaks. Earmarks or pork or pet projects, whatever you want to call them, are when lawmakers send money back to their districts for smaller projects, like I said, for nonprofits or for local governments for projects. However, the process isn't very transparent and has been called out in the past by the likes of Governor Henry McMaster and others. Senate budget writers set aside some $290 million to further accelerate the drop of the top income tax rate from 6.2% to 6%. You may remember that the House already put $200 million in the budget for that.
Yes.
This is the Senate version. Took out some money from those earmarks. Now you got $290. But that's as far as we're going to go when it comes to tax reductions in 2025. Here's House Majority Leader Davey Hyatt of Pickens.
We're living in a different time right now at the federal level. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we saw today where the president increased the tariffs on China, 145% or something like that. I mean, he increased it. So I don't really know. We're just trying to make sure South Carolina doesn't have another 2007, 2008 repeat. We understand that when COVID hit, we also had to come back and do a little cutting on that as well. But we just want to make sure we don't think it's going to happen. Feel very comfortable it's not going to happen. But as of right now, there's no telling what could happen in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And so we just feel like it's important that we be very conservative and just be watchful for what South Carolina's asked us to do.
House Minority Leader Todd Rutherford of Columbia, who is the only House Democrat that sits on the Budget Conference Committee when both sides are hashing out differences in the budget, which happens later in May, he had some other feelings on the move. Rutherford also invokes the uncertainty that Trump has created in the economy.
The problems that Donald Trump has created for this state and the need to feel like we may be headed for a recession because of his policies. And so that led the Senate to create the fraudulent feeling of austerity and this income tax cut for the wealthy rather than a recognition that a budget without earmarks is simply allowing non-elected bureaucrats to determine where the money goes, rather than allowing elected officials to vote on community reinvestment dollars that have benefited this state substantially. I think it's a mistake, and even though we recognize how Donald Trump has created this huge financial uncertainty, I don't believe that this is the best way to handle the budget process.
Thank you, Maayan Schechter, for that audio. And again, next Tuesday, we will have a full episode on the economy, tariffs, and what it means for you and businesses in the state. Econ Pod. Hopefully most of it will still be relevant. No guarantees. Now, the Senate is set to debate the budget the week of April 21st, so put that on your calendar. That is also the same date that we will be there for the historic, unprecedented impeachment hearing of Treasurer Curtis Loftus over the $1.8 billion boondoggle that will take place in the Senate. We will have our entire podcast on Tuesday, April 22nd, dedicated to that hearing. You're going to want to tune in, maybe even watch if you want spoilers. Let's skip to the House, where on Wednesday, several bills moved through the chamber, including one that would add penalties to anyone caught holding their phone or electronic device while driving. No scrolling while rolling, folks. Don't do it. Eyes on the road. Now, for nearly a decade, Aiken Republican Representative Bill Taylor has pushed for a full hands-free bill that would ban holding a phone for any reason while driving a car. On Wednesday, the bill finally made it to the floor for debate, and it passed. H. 3276 was authored by York Republican Representative Tommy Pope, and it would fine someone who violates the law $100 for their first offense, $200 for their second offense and subsequent offenses, as well as adding 2 points against their driving record. The bill passed the chamber 85-25 and heads to the Senate. Here's Representative Taylor.
It's a good day in South Carolina because 85% of the people in South Carolina say they want a hands-free bill. Put the cell phone down and drive the car. So today, it finally, after 8 years, this bill got passed in the House of Representatives, goes to the Senate. I'm confident the Senate's going to move this bill forward. This bill is similar to the bills in 32 states. It just simply says put the phone out of your hand, put it in a cup holder, put it in a device, whatever that might be, and you can still use the phone. You still can talk on the phone. You still can text if you're brave enough to dictate that and see what it says. That's dangerous, you know. But you still can use the phone. You can answer the phone, do anything you want on that, as long as you just don't pick it up and look it this way. We've all seen people going down the highway like this. What does that mean? That means they're driving blind. They are not looking at the road. They are 6 times more dangerous than a drunk driver. It's got to stop.
Lead says, stop texting and driving, stop watching shows while driving, just put it down. I know, put it down.
Fine.
Moving on, don't call it a hate crimes bill. A Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Tuesday gave approval to a proposal that would enhance penalties for someone who intentionally commits a violent crime or assault by mob due to the belief or perception of a victim's race, color, religion, sex, gender, national origin, or physical or mental disability. After conviction, that person would be subject to an additional fine of no more than $10,000 and an added prison term of up to 5 years. This non-hate crimes bill that sounds like the hate crimes bill, S-99, was filed by Colleton Democrat Senator Margie Bright Matthews. Now, unlike previous iterations, it doesn't explicitly call the legislation a hate crimes bill, but its language closely matches other legislation that passed out of the House but failed to advance out of the Senate in years past. With one change, the subcommittee removed a provision so that the bill defines sex as what's already in state code, and the bill advanced by voice vote to the full Judiciary Committee. Now, if it makes it out of Judiciary, it will likely get objected to on the Senate calendar, as previous bills, hate crimes bills, passed by the House have been stuck in the past. This year, the House did not pass its version of a hate crimes bill, putting the ball in the Senate's court. And up in Washington quickly, House Republicans passed their budget blueprint by a vote of 216 to 214. Close. The Associated Press reports that House Republicans narrowly approved that budget framework Thursday, a political turnaround after Speaker Mike Johnson worked into the night to satisfy GOP holdouts who would refuse to advance trillions of dollars in tax breaks without deeper spending cuts. Johnson stood with Senate Majority Leader John Thune early in the morning at the Capitol to shore up President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, and they committed to seeking at least $1.5 trillion in cuts to federal programs and services. The AP continues in saying that the House action still leaves weeks, if not months ahead on a final product with more votes in Congress. Johnson could lose only a few detractors from his slim Republican majority, and Democrats in the minority lack the votes to stop the package, but they have warned against it, and they all voted against it. Now, moving on back down to South Carolina, only a few years ago, the federal government gave cities like Rock Hill and Seneca grants to launch public transit fleets, and both cities opted to go all electric. Both started all EV bus fleets supplied by a manufacturer with a plant in Spartanburg, keeping it local. So how did South Carolina go from driving the future to not? Some speed bumps? Scott Morgan can explain.
Once upon a time, the future slipped across the public streets, humming, hopeful, and clean. It was a giddy age. Public transit built from nothing on the principles of electric power, free to the people, designed to take the shaking hands of the city's most vulnerable and lead them on board to jobs, to hospitals, to supermarkets, to wherever they needed to go. This hope thrummed in Seneca and then in Rock Hill. Two cities building their bus fleets from scratch without combustion engines. Two cities fusing their hopes to a maker of EV buses based itself in South Carolina, soaked in the faith that these 10-year vehicles would alter the imbalances with which the lack of adequate transportation squeezes the air out of communities that exist on the outposts of vibrant downtowns and the verdant pastures of suburbia. And it took about 3 years for all of that to decay.
We're definitely having some fleet challenges with our buses due to the manufacturer going bankrupt a year and a half ago.
The manufacturer that Cliff Goolsby is talking about is Proterra. In 2019, Proterra was the maker of electric buses and parts. Its manufacturing plant in Spartanburg connected the fleets in Rock Hill and Seneca to what was poised to be a major in-state corporation. In November 2023, after a bruising pandemic beatdown and the death of its co-founder, Proterra declared bankruptcy. The many recipients of the company's proprietary technologies had little interest in building electric bus fleets. And this has left Rock Hill, where Goolsby serves as the city's transit administrator, and Seneca, where Josh Riches is the assistant city administrator, stranded.
60% of our buses are out of commission. We would gladly have paid for maintenance to be done so they could operate, but they've basically just been put aside and said, no, we can't use these anymore. Each had an estimated useful life of 10 years. We've got buses that are 5 years old that have been sitting for 2 years, 3 years. There has definitely been a price that has been paid.
Like Seneca, Rock Hill has seen its bus fleet wither. Where 10 buses once served 4 large routes for 12 hours a day, now no more than 4 are operable at any one time. And for part of this year, Rock Hill's fleet dwindled to 2, as parts that were supposed to last a decade started to die in less than half that time. One bus was sidelined by an accident a year ago and could return to service, except that the city can't replace its proprietary windshield. So if cities that warehouse broken buses can't scavenge parts, there are no other parts to replace them. And this isn't a matter of money. Even if the city of Rock Hill today won the Powerball, the reality is it would do no good where the electric bus fleet is concerned. Not because it would take a feat of accounting to get the money into anybody else's hands, but because the money itself is as stranded as any passengers might be. There simply is nowhere for the money to go.
If somebody just gave us the money today, you're looking at a couple more years before we could probably have buses in hand.
Jimmy Bagley, deputy city manager of Rock Hill, at a recent transportation planning board meeting.
But if we have to go back through the same process we did the first time, you're looking at probably 6 or 7 more years before the federal government says it's time to give you more money for more buses. So we're kind of stuck with buses that don't work in a bankrupt company, and you're forced to make decisions on which route can we run with the buses we have. I mean, that's really what
what it boils down
what you're here
to.
today.
The real-world effect of Proterra's bankruptcy lies in that statement. Both Seneca and Rock Hill have had to rewrite their visions for their city's bus fleets.
We've actually changed to a on-demand system in which we put an RFP out for transportation companies to provide the service. So it's going to be an on-demand, an Uber service on steroids, if you will.
Seneca City Administrator Scott Mulder.
There'll be a reservation system, and as long as you have an address here, they'll come and pick you up and take you to either medical work and then life-sustaining shopping.
This Uber on steroids has nothing to do with electric buses. A small gasoline-powered bus will be the city's main shuttle. Sedans will pick up the slack. And this is possible in Seneca because it has a population of about 9,000, 8.5 times smaller than Rock Hill. In Rock Hill, city officials are desperate to save the fleet and are using a small gas-powered bus to fill in broken routes. The trouble is that small bus gets crowded quickly. So the most likely scenario that the city will come up with is to kill the downtown loop and stitch parts of it together with a different route that still gets the city's unhoused population, a main user of public transportation in town, to homeless services.
A lot of times we get this critique of our system, right? It's just a system for homeless people, but those are people that need help the most.
Jeremy Winkler is Rock Hill's Director of Government Affairs.
And we have stories of people that were homeless that couldn't make it to jobs on time, couldn't have any sort of income, and now they've got a job and they use the transit system to get there. I would say the consideration for the homeless is one of the reasons that we decided not to make any changes to Route 2, because Route 2 serves several of the homeless shelters. It serves the soup kitchen. It serves Pathways, which is a community center that has a lot of support for people who are experiencing homelessness.
Route 2 will be modified to take up some spots currently on Route 1. The amended Route 2 will still make a key stop outside the city's downtown library branch.
We certainly know that some people who don't have access to a car come in on the bus. It's a way for them to get to us.
Donna Andrews is the library's reference desk manager.
And also we know some of our homeless patrons are in here, and what all of those different groups of people are doing things like charging their devices, using their laptop with the library's Wi-Fi, doing some job searching on the computers, and just finding a way out of the elements.
Winkler says the city also will continue providing paratransit service for riders with disabilities.
We are not changing at all the paratransit route. So if that disability is one that would keep you from being able to physically make it to a bus stop, you could qualify for paratransit service and we would continue to serve you. And I believe the paratransit service allows for a companion as well. So if somebody needs someone to come along with them, and that's a totally free ride that will take you door to door anywhere within the paratransit service area.
Riders of the paratransit system like Pauline McCullough, though, say that the system helps but isn't always that convenient. If a driver has other pickups or drop-offs, for example, getting home can be hours away. McCullough prefers to use the general bus system since her epilepsy onset a few years ago took away her ability to drive. So she likes the bus, but she's concerned that she might lose her nearby stop.
It's on route number 1.
While McCullough is unhappy to lose the stop, she says she does understand that the city is handcuffed by Proterra's bankruptcy and the reality that there is just no easy way to get parts for the bus fleet. But she doesn't understand why Rock Hill went all in on an emerging technology like electric without considering the consequences.
It seems like they didn't have a backup plan when they were planning this all out.
A few miles away in the Sunset Park neighborhood on the city's south side, which contributes a large number of riders to the bus system, Naomi Harden shares the opinion that city officials could have thought further than to pin all their hopes on a singular company selling proprietary components to an unestablished technology. But if she's concerned about anything, it's that fewer stops will cause longer walks to remaining stops. And she's not convinced that officials are thinking through what that could mean.
Southside, to my knowledge, does not have a sufficient amount of sidewalk coverage within our community, and there's a lot of reasons for that because it is a historical neighborhood, so it was built for a time that was very different. And now, especially since we're coming up on the summertime, having more of those kids out of school, using the bus potentially, just thinking about those potential concerns.
Beneath a thick layer of safety concerns for pedestrians having to walk farther and farther to fewer and fewer stops, Harden wishes the city would take a more aggressive legal position that could at least bring some money to Rock Hill for transit solutions. But even she acknowledges that the Proterra bankruptcy has put the city in a tough place. That here and in Seneca, the dreamy fairy tale of a clean public transit system isn't likely to have a happily ever after anytime soon.
Thank you, as always, for that reporting, Scott. You can find that story and more at southcarolinapublicradio.org. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here. A.T. Shire, lead podcast producers, here with us, folks. Hello.
Hello. You're welcome, everyone listening. But honestly, if you told me that the ratings for this episode of the year, every year, would be low because everyone just watches the Masters. I would believe it.
Oh, guys, you got to listen.
I would believe it. Yeah, I would believe it, though.
It's a great time to watch.
I'm more convinced than ever that the grounds of Augusta National are artificial and like not real. You know what I mean? When I went, I would just be looking for any wires for all the cameras everywhere, and you can't find them.
Oh, I love that.
It's underground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if it rains real hard, the next day you come, the ground isn't wet. You know what I mean?
They have it to a science.
I'm convinced it is built on a giant air hockey table. You know what I mean? Like that sucks the water out and shoots it into South Carolina or something right over the border.
That was like Tiger's premise for like developing his league, where it's like, what if we just put it on a sound stage like they have down in Augusta? It's
exactly right. If you told me it was a giant soundstage and we all got like gassed and dropped there and we all think we went there and really we were just inside in a Truman Show type
like
thing.
the moon.
Yeah, much like the moon.
Well, the land was so cheap. They're like, let's put this soundstage down in Augusta and build a beautiful place here.
It is unreal gorgeous there.
I would like to see it.
It is a color green that you can't see anywhere. It's like the greenest grass you'll ever see.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to fancy golf courses and stuff that you pay a bunch of money that you can smell the fertilizer everywhere. But this is a whole other level.
They are
of
next
stuff.
level. Wow.
It is. It's crazy.
Darla Moore, if you're listening.
Please, Darla.
Darla,
I've
hello.
seen you there. I've seen her there. I saw Condi. I saw David Robinson. Like the no phone policy of the Masters, I think is
I'm a stay.
It's probably the best policy of any sporting event all time. And even though the Masters has crossover appeal, people who don't care about golf will watch the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say it's the biggest golf event of the year.
Yeah.
But it's also the most intimate when you're there because no one is going for clout. No one is trying to be seen or recorded. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And so you'll just be around
living in the moment.
10,000 people who shut the hell up and watch a golf shot. It's crazy.
Well,
It's
I was
very
reading
weird.
about some of the do's and don'ts too, and it's like something about the passes. We've talked about like how you can't sell the clothing, the merchandise that you buy there online.
Yeah.
And then also, I didn't know that you can't run to the next hole if you're trying to go. Like you have to walk very briskly.
Yeah, there are when I tell you everything there is considered.
Yeah.
Like there's a smart way to get everywhere. All the woods have these little cut throughs, and then if ever you feel your belly rumble and you think you're hungry, you just go like, I think I could be hungry. The next turn you take, there is a food stand. Like it's crazy. It's insane.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
The service is worldly, but also the food. Everyone freaks out about the food.
The sandwiches, the pimento cheese. There's no crust.
The food they taste
$2.
They taste like a $2 sandwich.
Oh,
Okay,
that's my price.
They're not good, but they are $2.
Yeah, they'll work.
Yeah,
but you can't even bring a camera. Like you
cannot.
You are living in the moment. Are you having? I mean, you're probably having conversations. People are just enjoying each other's company.
It's fun.
You're watching. Yeah,
it's so much fun to see a place like that. It's almost like a Disney World or Universal Studios, just for like generational money, which is also Disney World, I guess. But so Gavin, who are you going to call? Who are you calling?
I want Rahm.
I've
been watching some golf with my dad every other Sunday. I hate that I'm going to be missing the Masters with him this Sunday. I've always liked Rahm. I haven't seen him in a minute
because he went to
Live, so I'm not watching Live.
He's the only Live guy that I do enjoy. If he won, I would not be upset. But he's not playing well coming into it. He's not playing well.
See, I haven't seen him, but I'm him or Rory. That's pretty much where I want to go. But you're going to tell me Bryson DeChambeau.
I think Scotty. I think Scotty Scheffler. And everyone's heart, just like yours, mine also says Rory. Come on, little roars. I'd love for you to win, okay?
Yeah.
I would love for it to happen. I honestly don't apologize.
Apologize.
How much sports we just talked.
Yeah, that's okay because it's local to us.
It's crossover appeal. Oh, I was going to, before we get out,
what?
Gavin, next year.
Stick on a nail.
Next year.
Are we going next year?
We have to try to get press passes.
Yeah, okay.
We need to try to do that.
Darla.
I don't know the press pass process. PPP.
PPP.
Many people say. Gavin, I'll need your hand holding through the process.
Yeah.
I would love to try to just finesse our way in there.
Yes, that's we'll put that on the list.
Every first day of the Masters, I think to myself, I work at a news organization and I have drop this ball. I work 60 minutes away from
Well,
here.
yeah, and we can obviously chalk it up to like the economic impact. Just people stay in Columbia,
So
they
many
drive
people,
down.
so many people stay here.
We'll make it work. We'll do something like that.
This was the first weekend that I lived in Columbia. I moved down on Masters weekend. I didn't play golf yet, and I would just look around, and everyone in town was dressed like they just got off the course or they're just going to it. And I was like, man, this place is weird. Everyone in the South's dressed like a golfer.
You could tell. Then some of them walk through downtown and they just don't pay attention to the crosswalk lights.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, come on.
But if you're not golfing, do not wear golf clothes. Sorry, not sorry about that. PPP.
Good luck telling people in South Carolina that.
Yeah.
No, but I will say that if we don't get Masters press passes, we'll be doing this live from Darlington Raceway instead.
Yeah, it's one or the other.
Races. I've covered some Darlington races, so I know we can get into there for sure.
Anyway,
same
Gavin,
thing. It's the same thing.
Have a good Easter break. Baby bird, be safe. Fly away. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Say goodbye.
All right, folks, give us a shout. Let us know about your Masters experiences. We would love to hear from you. Maybe give us some love about your experiences down in Augusta National. Obviously, by the time we hear from you, we'll know who the winner is, but still, let us know who you think's going to win. 803-563-7169. We love hearing from you guys. And thanks, as always, for listening to the podcast. You can always leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love those, too. And stay up to date with the latest news on scetv.org and southcarolinapublicradio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina. Talk to AT, because I'm not going to talk anymore.
No, talk to my handlers, okay?
AT!
You talk to him. I'm not doing this.